Hello everyone, and warm greetings from Inside Meditation Center in Redwood City. I say that with a particular kind of happiness that I'm back here at the IMC. I've mostly been gone for the last month, certainly gone from YouTube and all of you here, and that's nice to be, very nice to be back and being able to have this kind of contact with you, and the kind of contact it is for me is that I get to share my heart, share my practice, my sense of the Dharma, and I feel very grateful to be able to have this opportunity and to be able to share what I have loved and delighted in. So here we are, and I'm certainly delighted and glad, happy to be here. And I want to use that as a jumping off for our meditation, that there is a role at times for gladness, for delight, and maybe as we settle into our meditation here, there's a variety of things that we can settle into or be inspired by or kind of welcome us, kind of make a welcoming kind of place within to be present. That we want to be present to these good feelings that can arise, maybe. And there is a gladness, maybe, that comes from simply sitting in this meditation posture. If you've been doing this for a long time, it might be a kind of homecoming. Fortunate to be able to have a posture to meditate in and to have that. And it can maybe be at a certain degree of gladness or delight that you have these minutes put aside where there's so much of your life that you don't have to take care of at this moment, or you've chosen not to take care of or be engaged in. And it's kind of a vacation, a Sabbath, a stepping away. And maybe there's a gladness for this little bit of time, and maybe a modicum of peace and settledness, peace of not having to respond and react and do and accomplish and prove yourself, and just to be here. And maybe there's gladness in having a mindfulness practice. Gladness in a practice where we, with time, can find our home here in this body, in this space. That there's a kind of safety that we find in being aware, being attentive, so that our reactivity doesn't get the upper hand. Just to be here, breathing. And so there is maybe a variety of things you can be glad about, happy about this opportunity to meditate. You might have a lot of challenges, you might have physical pain, you might have emotional difficulties that are very uncomfortable. Not to deny them or try to override them, but maybe for these minutes here, in the middle of them, in this present moment, maybe there's a place where your heart can smile. Maybe there's some things that allow your heart to have a smile. And in that smile, to welcome you to be here and present. So gently closing the eyes, maybe closing the eyes so that that part of you which has the smile or the gladness can be felt more. Gently taking some long, slow, deep breaths. Gently. 3/4 full. Inhale. And perhaps with the inhale and exhale, breathing with the smile, breathing with the gladness. Letting your breathing return to normal. And sometimes it's useful to notice the location in your body from which you're aware, from where you practice mindfulness. And the seat of awareness can be changed, is variable, without denying how you might be otherwise. Can you let your awareness come from the place where you feel a delight or gladness or contentment, a quiet well-being? Like you're sitting into a nice, comfortable, easy chair from which you can gaze upon the world, letting your awareness take a seat in the smile of your heart. And from here, be aware of your breathing. Be aware of your body. Be aware of your experience, remembering always to know it. From that seat within, where there is some well-being, resting there. Awareness resting. So awareness is not work. then as we come to the end of this sitting, to consider sitting here quietly what you might be glad for, grateful for during this sitting. Perhaps the meditation has its challenges for you. Maybe your body now is uncomfortable from sitting this long. But is there somewhere inside something that you are content or happy or grateful for this chance to meditate, to be together? Is there some feeling of relief or appreciation? A smile in the heart. And may whatever appreciation we have from this practice be a source from which to appreciate others. Whatever ways that we have benefited from this meditation, in ways that we know and ways that we don't know, may it translate, may it inspire us for greater care and respect for the people we encounter and relate to, think about. May it be that sitting quietly in meditation has value for how we live our life. May we contribute to the welfare and happiness of others while doing so for ourselves. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings everywhere be free. Thank you. So, hello everyone. And here we are on a new Monday, a new week. Happy to be with you. And in a sense, I bring with you a little bit of the last retreat that I was teaching on at the Insight Retreat Center. And ended yesterday, and It was wonderful to be at the retreat center in person, and even more wonderful to be meditating there and kind of being in the flow, very, very relaxed flow of the practice, of the schedule, of the whole life there at the retreat center. So I come here happy with this. And also I come here with a little bit the theme of the retreat. What I'm inspired to share with you this week is what has become, maybe locally, come to be called the Gladness Pentad. And I've probably taught about this before, certainly parts of it. And these are 5 inner states, qualities that can grow as we develop practice. And the way the Buddha presented these 5 was not something that we generate or create or construct for ourselves, make happen, like we're in charge and we're going to kind of pump this up, but rather something that emerges and then begins to flow, emerges and begins to flow into each other, one after the other. And the role of the practitioner is to know it, allow for it, make room for it, and not interfere with the process. We interfere with it by getting lost in thought. Part of the value of learning how not to be wander off in thought and be caught up in preoccupations is that when we're really here, those thoughts, those preoccupations are a dampener. They limit, they close the doors to something flowing and moving, something that can happen that when those are not there. It's kind of like if you're on the radio and you turn onto the channel of the news, as horrible as the news might be, and you missed you're tuned into a different channel, but you turn it back to the channel where maybe there's some really inspiring music that really kind of touches you and opens you and delights you and it helps you to be in the present moment. And so when we stop being distracted and mindfulness has developed so we're really here, it's a new channel, and something new can flow and move that can't move if we're distracted. And that's one of those descriptions of this is the Gladness Pentad. So this is gladness itself. That's the first quality, gives it its name. Joy, tranquility, happiness, and samadhi, concentration. And one of the salient features of some of the description of these is that it doesn't say that the meditator makes these happen, but from one, the other arises, the other flows from one to the other. And this idea of flowing or arising, flowing is kind of maybe one of the preeminent ways in which the Buddha talks about the growth, the expansion, and movement of healthy states of mind. And in a number of places he uses the metaphor of water flowing in a river, flowing in a stream, and or water flowing from an underwater spring into a large peaceful lake. The flow of that water from the inside out, or really finding the current of the river and then flowing in the current. Or as the rivers go down the mountainside and combine, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So as these good qualities kind of come together and grow, something within us gets bigger and bigger, more expansive. And this idea of becoming expansive is part of what the Buddha talks about as practice develops. So this idea of flowing. The alternative to this is what we could call reactivity. And the reactivity in the kind of, in my language, but the reactivity in the kind of what the Buddha points to is very different metaphors to describe it. He describes it as fire that burns you. He describes it as a barb, kind of an arrow that pierces you. A sickness that comes from the outside, and maybe a virus that comes from outside that is not, it's alien a little bit to who you are, but makes you sick. A tumor, which is also kind of, not you. It's something that's extra. Sometimes he calls it a burden. So there's something outside that's weighing you down, like a heavy thing you have to carry. And these are very different kind of, very different ways in which we can go through life. One which is a burden, one which is we kind of afflictive, and the other which is we're being carried along. Something's moving within us that we make space for and allow for this movement towards freedom. And so the way the Buddha describes this gladness, Pentad, it begins by something that inspires us. And sometimes it's the faith or the trust we have in the Dharma and the practice. Sometimes it has to do with some experience of freedom that we've experienced. Not necessarily the big bang freedom that Buddhism might be emphasizing, but just the small ways in which we learn to let go and experience ourselves independent of our reactivity, our preoccupations, our kind of ways in which our rumination is self-afflicting. We kind of repeat the same kind of self-critical kinds of thoughts over and over again. And it is a kind of a burning fire that singes us to have this over and over again. And so to have that stop or cease or quiet down enough that we have a different experience of ourselves and that we're inspired that it's possible. What's remarkable, I think, for many of us is how we can go through a life growing up and a good part of our life thinking that how our mind is operating is normal. That's the way it should be. And if the mind is involved with reactivity, and what I mean by reactivity is that there's a habitual mental, emotional activity that gets triggered by some event outside or some event inside. So, if I sit here quietly and think about I haven't had my car oil changed for a while now. It's time to do it, and so that's just realizing that. Or there can be a reactivity to that inside. Like, Gil, I tell myself, you're a really lousy, terrible car owner. You don't really take care of that well. This is a thing that should be cared for and respected, and how could you? And I get angry with myself. And if that's an automatic pilot, that kind of criticism and anger, that's reactivity. And then that reactivity then can produce more reactivity. So once I get angry with myself for being a lousy car owner who doesn't care for his car, then I start remembering that I'm supposed to be a mindfulness teacher who doesn't have reactivity, perhaps, or now I'm really kind of a bad person because now I'm a lousy teacher in addition to it. And now that I'm a lousy teacher, then and talking about it to all of you, that I just get caught up in my reactivity, my embarrassment, my conceit, my ideas. And it's possible that some people, that's all they're living in. It's just reactivity, triggering more reactivity, and just swirling around. And it's so normal that the mind doesn't think that anything of it, in a sense, this is what life is. And the reactivity has some truth to it, the messages from it. To have it all quiet down enough to experience ourselves without that reactivity, where one thing doesn't trigger another harmful thing, another little fire that singes us or a barb that pokes us, but we experience the mind, the heart, unpoked, unsinged, kind of becoming relaxing, softening, opening. Wow, this is possible. And for that to give rise, for the Buddha, this kind of experience is one of the sources for gladness. For it's kind of an inspiration. Oh, and whether the word should be gladness, the word is pamojja, and I kind of like the word delight. But we can't say joy and happiness because those are coming, maybe, kind of a joy. It's evaluative in nature. It's the kind of sense of joy that comes from evaluation, a realization, understanding. Oh, this is a good thing. So it does require some engagement, involvement to reflect on, oh yes, take the time to reflect on, to think about, oh, this is a good thing. This I appreciate. This is valuable. The nature of reactivity is that it can go nonstop. It never takes a vacation. And so we just go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And there's no room to pause and stop and just appreciate the present moment, appreciate what can live within us that is not reactive. And the non-reactive life, where something begins to flow, has movements to flow, is one of the things that Dharma practice is moving us towards. Where we get out of, our reactivity gets out of the way so that the current of goodness that lives within us as a potential can begin to flow. And to begin getting an inkling of this possibility and feel it within us and take the time to appreciate that allows us to begin feeling a gladness, an appreciation, a certain kind of joy. That's important because when that becomes strong enough or present enough in this non-distracted state of mindfulness, that becomes the seedbed or the river that grows into a stronger one, bigger river, and that grows into joy. From gladness there arises joy, says the Buddha. He doesn't say, from gladness now make yourself joyful. The joy just flows, a current. So perhaps today you can take a little bit of extra time here and there through the day to see what it's like to be undistracted in the present moment, to allow yourself to find a way to appreciate just being present here and now, and see that if in that kind of letting go of reactivity and thoughts enough, not that you have to stop thinking, but enough that maybe you can find some kind of bubbling up, flowing up, some little hints within of something that wants to flow, radiate, move, that is good. Maybe a beginning of a smile, an inner smile, smile of the heart. So thank you, and I'm very grateful to all of you that you're here to keep me company as we engage in the Dharma together this way. Thank you.